everyone. Today is Thursday, September 9th, 2021. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is my turn to talk. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so today the topic is, or is supposed to be, should sperm donors be outed for any reason? In today's society, sperm donation is legal and men get paid to provide their sperm to sperm banks. Is there any reason whatsoever that the confidentiality of a sperm donor should be revealed? Are sperm donors under moral or financial obligation to their children, quote unquote? What do you think? Now, this conversation or this topic came about because a couple of things that I had been reading, but yesterday a friend and I got into a very long conversation about this topic, and it went from sperm donation to um, adoption to people who were adopted finding out who their parents were. We talked about, doing DNA through ancestry.com and how people can, find out, you know, uh, who their relatives are, or in some cases of adoption, who their parents are. And the conversation just evolved. But I would just like to know, should, what do you think? Should sperm donors be outed? Now, it's my understanding that if you go to a sperm bank that and you donate, your name of course is not given. You are given a number, 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so you are sperm donor 1 2 3 4 5, and you know uh people can come in, women and men, if they are, wanting to start a family, with a surrogate, can come in and choose your number, and your number could be chosen, many times. So you could be a donor that produces or creates um, hundreds of children, literally. So my question comes down to, are the sperm donors morally or are they financially responsible years down the road when that child wants to find out who their father is? So, hello, Terry. Welcome. Right now, the everyone is me. So, welcome. So, thank you for the like. Okay, so a couple years ago in Canada, Ontario, Canada, there was a case where a child who was well, let me put it like this. A gay man donated his sperm to a former classmate. And now, 20 years later, he's being sued for child support. And again, this story is a couple of years old. And when I was talking to my friend yesterday on the phone, and as I said, we had a very long conversation about this. And to me, it would seem like if you go in and you donate sperm, and there's a contract with confidentiality, between the donor and the person who is accepting that donation. Um, but what about the child? Is there a contract for the child? And I know this gets all into legal jargon and what have you, but this man was being sued for child support. So we also have a case um, that happened in California a couple years ago about the same thing. You know, someone goes in, a child goes in, and he wants child support. So before I keep going, Terry, I'm going to ask you because I have a lot to say on this. I'm going to ask you, what do you think? Do you think that for any reason a sperm donor should be morally or financially obligated to their quote unquote children? And there we go. Okay, so you should be able to talk. Hello, Juju. Okay, so Terry, did you want to say something?
Yes. Hello, Solid Blue.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, I don't believe that they're morally or financially obligated as a matter of course. In other words, I believe they're entering into a transactional relationship with the woman, and provided everything is all legal and agreed to, and preferably in writing, I don't believe that that person has any obligation. I believe unless other arrangements have been made with the woman, I'm not sure where the moral or the financial quote unquote obligation comes in. I think an obligation implies an implicit agreement on something. And if you're just agreeing to supply the sperm and that's it, then I don't believe there is any obligation beyond that.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So when you bring a surrogate into the picture, it's not a sperm donation. You have a surrogate who is carrying a child for a family. And then all of a sudden,
Either the surrogate,
you know, pardon?
isn't the sperm donor, isn't that person the surrogate? Or am I misunderstanding something?
No, the surrogate would be the woman who is actually carrying the child. So you have surrogates who carry
Woman's
for
spouse or
whatever reason,
significant?
the mother or whatever, the mother cannot get pregnant for whatever reason. So her husband, they do an in vitro, and the surrogate is the one who takes the sperm and carries the child to term, because for whatever reason the mother could not get pregnant. I'm sorry, I have a fly in here and it's driving me crazy. So when you have a surrogate who is, carrying the child, physically carrying the child, and then all of a sudden, because we have these cases where, these women, these surrogates, all of a sudden, at the end, when the baby's born,
With
they want visitation. They want to be part of this child's life, but they signed a contract stating that when you are the surrogate, you are the vessel for this child. When this child is born, you legally have to give this child up to us. So you have no right to this child. But you have many cases where surrogates have said, no, I want to be part of this child's life. And at the same time, you also have parents who hired surrogates, took care of them. They did all kinds of things for them, whatever, paid for this, paid for that. And then when the baby was born, the parents decided they didn't want to go through with the contract. We don't want this child. And they want the surrogate to keep the child. So what do you think about that? Is that still the same financial obligation as you would have with a sperm donor? Did you follow that at all? Hello? Okay, I think we lost Terry. Okay, so I am going to keep going as soon as I kill this fly. All right, so I personally think that in terms of sperm donation, whether it's a friend doing it as a favor, or if you go to a sperm bank, there has to be that confidentiality and no, the child cannot come back 18, 19, 20 years later and want to um, sue. Um, okay, you lost audio. Why don't you go out and come back in? Try going out, leaving the pod, and coming back in. Okay, so basically, I think that they should not, be obligated, for any reason um, to pay child support, give financial support, or emotional support. I don't think that they're required to do that. Now, my other question would be, do you think um, a person should be required to out themselves if it's a medical emergency for that child? So that would be another question that I would have. You know, let's say for whatever reason, you need a blood transfusion or you need a liver transplant or a lung transplant or something, and bone marrow, and your only option would be to find out who your father was. Is there a moral obligation there where you could compel, the court or whatever to out that person? That's another question that I would have. And again, I would say no. So, Terry, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Because I don't show you. Okay.
I
This is
lost
weird.
I lost the audio temporarily. Now it's back.
All right. Because I'm not showing you as a listener. Okay. So, do you have, hold on for a second. Can you mute yourself for a moment, please?
Hit the microphone.
Yes. Okay. You can come back on. Um, so what do you think about that? If it's a medical emergency, do you think that a child would be able to go to the court to compel their sperm donor to out themselves because it's a medical emergency? And Juju says all that should be stated in the contract, assuming that it is. Assuming that it is. So I'm saying, if if there's a medical emergency and that child or that mother wants to go to court to compel that sperm donor to out themselves so they can be tested or something because of a medical emergency. That is my point.
Well, I think there's obviously a
Does
difference
anybody have a
between.
comment?
Yeah, I think there's obviously a difference between
Terry,
moral. Yes, hello.
Juju, do you want to make a comment in the chat?
Can you hear me?
Let's see. Hold on for a second here. No. Okay. All right. So Joju, I'm going to ask you. You're saying no. So let's say you were someone who you were someone who used a sperm bank, and you had your child, and let's say your child got into an accident. They're 14 years old, they got into some type of accident, whatever. and the doctor is saying, we need to find a match or a donor, whatever, and no one on your side of the family is a match, would you want to go to that sperm donor? Or let's say you did not get that sperm donor. Okay, you're saying no. Okay. All right. That's okay. All right. Are you saying that because of the contract or because you don't want okay. Um, what if you knew that sperm donor? What if that sperm donor, was a friend who just, okay, you all still have a contract, but you know this person? Would you be more apt to want to go to that person? Uh, Interesting. Why is that different? Is it because you know that person? But if you still have this contract that, there's no contact, this child is never supposed to know who their who their father is. Okay, but you have a contract. The contract states that for whatever reason, under no circumstances, no matter what, you are not to come to this person because of this child. Would you still want to go to that person? And Terry, I'm asking you the same question.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Interesting. Interesting. Hmm.
Yeah, can you hear me,
But
Tallador?
wouldn't you be breaking your contract? Whether you know the person or not, wouldn't you be responsible for breaking the contract? And the second question, okay, so would you be upset if that person said no? Not really. Okay. Not really. When you have that not really in there, I'm taking that to be you're not going to be upset, but you're still going to be a little PO that they didn't say yes. Is that correct? Okay, actually, okay, Terry, I have no idea if you're on or off because you're not on my listener list, but you are showing in as a speaker. So I'm not sure what's going on with you there.
Can you hear me?
Okay, so actually, what? You're kind of leaving me hanging, Juju. Because I would think that if you have a contract, no matter what, no matter if you know the person, if the person's your brother, who well, I'm not. Oh, that wouldn't be brother. That wouldn't be right. If it was, your mental type exactly. Okay, but do you have the right to even have that little twinge of anger or disappointment? Do you have that right considering you signed a contract? Do you have that right to be, have that little twinge of disappointment or anger? Hmm. Because I would think that um, a contract is a contract. Whether you're um, friend or what do you call it, friend or a stranger, that it it doesn't matter. So I don't know. All right, so what about surrogate? Would you say the same thing? Okay, it depends. All right. Okay, Juju. What does it depend on? What does it depend on? Okay, everything stated in the contract. So again, going back to if it was a friend, if it's stated in the contract that no matter what, there's no contact, financial, medical, whatever, emergency, you cannot, you do not have the right to, you know, approach that donor for the sake of that child, and that person is a friend. So again, I say, wouldn't you be the one breaking the contract if you approach that person and he is your friend? Okay, everyone. Juju says, of course, I would be the one breaking the contract. Okay, so you know that, excuse me, you know you're being a little bit hypocritical here. Okay, that's a friend. I believe it would be okay. Okay, but what if that friend doesn't think that it's okay that you all went into this contract and this friend is saying that, again, no matter what, kind of, sort of, I would have to. Okay, Juju. Oh my goodness. All right. So if it was a stranger, then you absolutely would not approach that stranger. Or I would say you wouldn't really be approaching the stranger. You would be approaching the the company or the sperm bank. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. All right. So if it's a surrogate, um, what if a surrogate came, and this is somebody, it could be a stranger, whatever, but over the course of, 9 months, you're going to get to know this person. If it's a surrogate, do you believe that they have the right to break the contract and they want visitation and they want to, be, involved in the child's life? They want to get pictures and school pictures and Christmas photos and things like that. What do you think about that? Okay. What if the surrogate was a friend, but you had this contract, no contact whatsoever? What if this person was a friend? Are you sure you don't want to come on and talk, Juju? Because this conversation is interesting. This conversation is interesting. Oh my goodness. So on the surrogate side, in a friendship, I'm just in I'm silent because that's interesting. That's interesting how you're taking. Okay, so let me go back to the sperm donor. So what if your friend, the sperm donor, wanted to be in that child's life? 2 years down the road, the child is 2 years old, and the sperm donor wants to be in that child's life. Would that be the end of the friendship with the sperm donor, your friend, the sperm donor, as it would be with the surrogate? Because to me, they're both the same. It depends how if the sperm donor was a was a multi-millionaire. Oh my goodness. Okay. Are you being funny? I'm just trying. Is that a joke here? You do know, in my opinion, you do know you're being a little bit hypocritical, correct? You agree you're being a hypocrite. Okay. All right. So you would end a friendship over a surrogate, but not over a sperm donor. Why? Oh boy, I'm just waiting for Juju to put in her answer. Lost for words. Okay, and I'm just being a little sarcastic here when I say this. Are you lost for words because of the hypocrisy? Kind of. Okay, and to anyone who's listening to this pod, Juju and I are friends, so um, I'm just laughing. I, you know, I, so do you think that there would be now? Again, I'm going on the friendship part here. Do you think there would be a moral or financial obligation because of the friendship? Utter, I'm assuming you mean speechless. So, okay. So, are you going on? Would it be? Um, do you think they would have a moral or financial obligation because they were friends? Either the, and I'm saying the sperm donor. Hello, shy lady. Juju is cracking me up with her answers here. I'm glad you are here. She wants me to get the pressure off of you, off of her, and put it on you. Is that right, Juju? Okay, so um, shy lady, if you can kind of scroll through the save save by the bell, save by shy lady. Okay, so shy lady, if you can kind of scroll through the chat. So basically, I'm talking about I'll read it. In today's society, sperm donation is legal and men get paid to provide their sperm to sperm banks. Is there any reason whatsoever the confidentiality of a sperm donor should be revealed? Are sperm, keep saying sperm, are sperm donors under moral or financial obligation to their children? What do you think? Now, Juju, and correct me if I'm wrong. Juju's being a little bit of a hypocrite here. She says that sperm donation, if it's a stranger, someone she doesn't know, then if it was a medical emergency or whatever, she would not approach that person. But if it was a friend who gave the sperm, and both of these people have contracts, you went into a contract with at the sperm bank, you went into a contract with your friend, no contact whatsoever. She said that she would contact the sperm donor because they were friends. Then I said, well, what if it was a surrogate? What if the surrogate you had this surrogate was a friend? She carries this baby to term, And all of a sudden, she wants to break the contract, and she says, "Well, hey, I want to be part of this child's life." Uh, Juju said that she would end the friendship, but they have a contract. So, what do you think, Shy Lady?
Well, by law, if you sign a contract, it's binding. So it probably wouldn't hold up in court. And I think that if you put yourself in that position and you sign that contract and you agree not to contact that person, I think um, you should support what you signed. You should support the decision of the contract. That's what I think. However, I do think it's unfair to the offspring that will probably maybe grow up one day to know more about their biological parent. Maybe they don't want to get or have a relationship with them, but maybe they want to know some history. So that's how I feel about it.
Okay, but what about what Juju said in terms of it's different because a friend over a stranger?
Mm,
But you have that contract. You still have that contract.
mm-hmm. Like I said, I think the contract is binding, and I mean you could try to break it if you want to, but if you get taken to court, you're not going to win because it's the law.
So, what if your friend um, don't donated sperm
Mm-hmm.
and everything was fine. Everything was fine. And Juju agrees that's the law. Okay. So, and everything was fine. And again, I say this, he's 14 years old. He or she's 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
There's a car accident. And, you know, maybe a liver, lung, bone marrow, something is needed. No one on your side of the family is a match. And your friend could possibly be a match. Would you approach your friend at that point? Your friend, the sperm donor.
I would, yeah, I would, because that's
Would
that's
you?
kind of a life. That's kind of a situation that's a life or death thing. So I
What
would,
if
I
that
would in an
person
instance
said
like that.
no? What if that person said no? Would you be upset? And do
Probably
you?
if I,
And
mhm.
do you have the right to be upset?
I would be upset because I would think it's beyond um, the law. I know that laws are created and supposed to be followed, but I also have watched enough TV, and I've also read enough cases, real life cases in America where the law sucked and it wasn't for the benefit of that person because
Okay,
after
when you say
all,
the benefit of the person, you're talking about the benefit of the child.
yeah, the child or the person who was had a was on trial or whatever, because the laws are made by people. Laws are made by people, and people have flaws, and people make laws to benefit certain groups. So I wouldn't have a I would not, I mean, if that person wanted to be angry, but if it's my child and I think that it's a matter of life and death, I would take my risk and say, hey, um, we need you to donate your bone marrow or something.
But
If
and
it was
again,
my
but
child.
if they said no,
Hmm.
would you end that friendship with that person?
um I
And
probably
and,
would.
and again,
I probably
you
would.
have a contract.
Hmm. I probably would though, because there comes a point in life where even though they say these
I'm
things
sorry.
about
Do
the
you see?
law,
I'm
I
sorry.
mean,
You just said told you.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
if it's a person, if it's a child even though it may not be my blood child, but if it's a child that I've raised and I've grown to love as my own, I would be upset. I'm sure I would be if their life depended on my friends um, donating to save their life. I would be mad. Yeah, I would be, because there's a part to me in life where, like I said, laws are written by people. People have flaws. Everybody who writes certain laws they go into effect. Some of these laws we have, they suck.
True.
They're bad, and they were written some on purpose to be a disenfranchisement to certain groups, and they were done on purpose. So not every law is a good law just because it's a law. But I mean, government can be a very sticky situation. But to
Well,
me,
okay, okay. I'm just playing two
oh, I
sides
know,
of the coin here. So,
gotcha.
um, but again, if you okay, let me back up. You want to have a baby,
Hmm.
and you're not able to.
Hmm.
So you have this conversation with your friend, and you say, "I'm going to go to a sperm bank." And you and this male friend of yours, no romantic anything there. You all have just been really good friends over the years. So he says, if you want, I'll I'll donate. And you say
Hmm.
yes. And he says, but we have to go into this contract. And the contract is very detailed. And he says, Shy Lady, I do not want um, to be involved in this child's life in any way. In any way. And he makes that very clear. I don't want you to, come to me when they're 18 and they need tuition for college. If it's a medical emergency, I don't want you knocking on my door. Um, I don't want them to know who I am. And you're like, yeah, yeah, okay, 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 and you make that very clear. You all sign a contract. Let's say you go to an attorney's office, and you all get it notarized, stamped, sealed, whatever. And then this accident happens. Now I know human nature, whatever, and you would expect for this person to um to step up. So by you saying that you would get upset if they said no, what's the difference if this same person, your child, was in an accident or whatever reason? Let's say they need a kidney or kidney or liver transplant, and your only other option would be to track down the donor. Would you at that point petition the court or go to that sperm bank and say, I need to know who donor 12345 was? I need to get in contact with them because we have a medical emergency. Would you do that?
I would.
Okay, and the sperm bank says no.
Then we just have to live with it. But I would do what I can. If it was my child, I would do what I can to save that child's life.
Okay, now let's say the sperm bank says, okay, we'll let me contact the sperm donor, whatever, and we'll put you in contact, whatever, and you get in contact with the sperm donor, and you talk to them, and they say no. Would you then take that sperm donor to court to compel him to get tested or to give up his liver or a piece of his kidney or something?
I would if it meant saving my child's life. Yeah, I would. I would take the risk because it's a matter of life and death. I'd rather take the risk to save that person's life um, than not try it at all.
Interesting. Okay, so as I was talking to Juju, what about a surrogate? Um, you have a surrogate who carried this baby to term, and this person is not a friend. But when the baby's born, all of a sudden, they say to hell with the contract. I want to be a part of this baby's life. I want to be invited to school plays and all this other stuff. What do you do?
I wouldn't want them to be a part of their life.
What if it was a friend? And you still had that contract, no contact. Let's say this friend, lived in another country or they live far enough away where it's not like they could pop in and out, every day or something, but they wanted to be part of this child's life.
If it's a friend and they want to be a part of the child's life, and if it wasn't for the friend, this child wouldn't be in existence. I would consider letting them be a part of the child's life. If they're my friend, I would.
So, what's the difference between a friend and a stranger? That may sound like a silly question, but why would you? I mean, what is it about this stranger that you would not want to be near this particular child?
Because a stranger is that itself. You don't, that's a risk you took on allowing a stranger to be a donor for your child, but not really knowing what kind of activities this stranger is about, what their life is about. I wouldn't want them to be a part of the life of the child. I would not want them to be a part of the life of the child if it was a stranger.
Okay. All right. Well, at the beginning of the show, before anybody came on, I was talking about uh, let's see, Juju says, I said it depends if the sperm donor was a multi-millionaire. Okay. So before you came on, I was talking about how a couple years ago, first in Ontario, Canada, and then in California, where a sperm donor 20 years down the road was sued by the child for child support. Okay. And then, um, I'm sorry, the one in California was child support by the child. The one in Ontario, Canada was by the mother. And the donor met the mother while they were in medical school and talked about her having children on her own or if she was never married by her late 30s. Um, but the donor stated that in affidavits that he never intended to be a parent and that she was seeking financial relief for retroactive child support. Now, this was 20 years down the road. Okay. He at the time he was making $280,000 a year in Canada. She was making $247,000 a year as a doctor. He was working at World Bank in Canada, and she was making $247,000 a year as a doctor in Ontario. Now, what do you think about that? 20 years later, she wants retroactive child support.
I, I think it's scandalous as hell because she wanted that child regardless, and you wanted a child, and you said, "Okay, you don't have to pay child support." So what she did was reneged, and that's not right. Like I said, I understand a situation where there's a matter of life or death, but this is strictly about money. It's 20 years later, the child's already grown. Your sole um, benefit of doing this is monetary, which is wrong.
Well, what was interesting about this, the woman's name was Amy Cullimore, and the gentleman's name was Ransom. What is his first name? I don't see his first name. Okay, but basically, um, you know, now this is where it gets interesting. It says um, it took a few years. So he kept donating sperm, and he would send it. Um, he went to California actually, and went to a clinic, and he donated sperm that was sent to Amy Cullimore in Ontario. Two children were born in the early 2000s. Ransom, okay, that's the donor's name, stayed in their lives, serving as a benevolent uncle, in his words. But Cullimore says he self identified as dad, and they called him dad and always referred to them as his father. Do you think that changes anything?
No, I don't, because they agreed that your financial support wasn't needed, and I don't know if it's necessarily true that he was called dad. I don't know, But regardless, your financial support was supposedly not needed. And now all of a sudden, 20 years later, don't sit right with me.
Okay. Okay. Now there's another part of the story. They never lived together. They were never ever in the same city. However, the donor was generous financially over the years, where on his own he on his own he said, I will do this. He supported private school costs. He paid for trips for the children, and he put $20,000 in an education savings account. But she says that he did it on his own, and he always stated that he was only a donor. He was doing this, for himself. And she says that she felt obligated to sign a written agreement giving her sole custody and all financial responsibility. He says it was her idea. Now, I find that interesting because unless someone's holding a gun to your head, you don't have to sign anything. You don't have to do anything. But does it change anything because he chose over the years to give these children money, to pay for trips, to pay private school tuition, but yet this woman was making basically the same amount of money he was as a doctor.
It doesn't change anything to me because I know people who have godchildren, and they do things for their godchildren.
Mm-hmm.
They buy them things. Some people, there's some people who really take being a godparent very seriously. Then there's some who just have a title and be like, "Oh, that's my god boy, that's my godson," but they don't really do anything financially or um, not even financially. They don't even pick the kid up to take them places or whatever. But I knew a family that had godchildren, and they would and the parents were friends with the other parents, and they both had kids. They both had their own biological kids, and their kids were friends. They would take the godchildren to Disney World,
Mm-hmm.
with their family. Like if the biological parents weren't going to go, they would take the godchildren with them to Disney World, pay for everything. To me, it's kind of similar to that. This man was saying, okay, I love them. They're blood related to me. I love them. And there's some people, regardless if they're blood or not, like I said, in the case of godchildren, if you're friends with the parents, or you have a fondness for the parents and their kids, people do things for people.
Right. Right.
So she has no right, in my opinion, to demand anything of this man. She should have been glad that he even agreed to have kids with her and to pay for trips and private tuition. She should be glad for that.
And see, and that's what I say. And Juju, when you say yes, I did, I'm assuming that you're saying that you financially, did things for your godchild, because that is what godparents do. So let me ask this. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. Do you think that if a if a child is adopted, and and I still do financially, okay, um, do you think if a child is adopted that they have the right, if they find out through ancestry, DNA or anything like that, and they find out that who their mother and father is, um, do you think they have the right to come and ask for financial support or even emotional support? Let's say you gave a child up for adoption, whatever, and that child comes back and they find out through ancestry.com that uh, you are their parent. Do you think they have the right to take you to court to compel you to acknowledge them? And I ask this because I've seen some court cases where um, a child has taken a parent to court.
It depends on the situation, because if a person willingly laid down and had sex with a person, knowing that they impregnated that person, and they didn't have like an agreement, it wasn't no donor type of thing, they have a responsibility financially uh, to the child, because the child didn't ask to be born. Adoption is a little bit different, because if you are a child of an adoption, then whoever adopted you is your parents. Those are your parents. Though that's who you need to depend on financially. As
But do
you
you
know,
think that you have the right to go to, again, like I say, you do your ancestry.com or whatever, and you do the DNA and you find out, who your parents are? Do you think that you have the right to go to them and, almost want to make them acknowledge that you are my mother, you are my father?
again, like I said, if a person lays down with someone and they make a child, if that child wants to know their history, I I don't think it's not anything wrong with a child wanting to reach out to know where they come from, to know about their ancestry. But if that person doesn't want to be bothered, then I think the kid should just move on. Unfortunately, it might hurt, but the child should move on if
But
that person doesn't want to be
do you think that
bothered.
child should take that person to court?
If they don't want to be bothered, I don't think they should take them to court. I mean, what are you looking to gain? Money? If they don't want a relationship,
In this case, no, I'm not talking financial. I'm just talking, an emotional thing that they just wanted to acknowledge, that you are my mother, you are my father. So I'll take it from the surrogate and the sperm donor thing. So I'm going to ask you, um, do you think that if if for whatever reason, let's say, you know um, a woman gets pregnant, whatever, and she financially cannot take care of this child, or she's a teenager and she wants to keep the child, and her parents are like, no, you're either going to put this child up for adoption or you're going to get out of my house, whatever. So they do that, and over the years, the mother, she's like, I don't want to have anything to do with this child, whatever. um, do you think that, again, with adoption, that the parent is morally, and I'm not talking financially, morally responsible or uh, compelled to acknowledge this child?
I think that morally they are, but you have some people out there who don't give a damn if that's their kid or not. Morally, they should do the right thing. But like I said, you have people out there that just don't give a damn. And if they don't give a damn, then I wouldn't want them to be a part of my life. If I was that child, I wouldn't want, they're strangers. Even though you may share the same bloodline with someone, if they don't want to be bothered, like my mother always told me, I don't want to be with nobody that don't want to be with me. I've always remember her saying
That's
that,
true.
and following that advice when there was there was a young man who was pursuing me, and then all of a sudden he kind of stopped, and then I wanted to be with him, and I remember my mother telling me, well, he don't want to be bothered, let it go. I don't want to be with nobody that don't want to be with me. And I said, you're right. That makes sense. And I've always followed that advice.
But unfortunately, a lot of people don't think that way. So, part of the conversation that I was having yesterday with my friend, um, we were talking about, we this the conversation started out with the whole donor thing, and it ended up with adoption, what have you. And my take on the whole thing is, I do agree that if someone does not want to be bothered, um, leave them alone. But I do also believe that if you have a contract, even if it's your friend, um, then Hello, Angie. Even if it's your friend, um, you have a contract, and even if it is an emergency, um, you should honor that contract. I mean, that may seem harsh or whatever, but I don't know. I don't know. You know, um, I'm going to get into a little politics here. So, with everything that's going on in Texas, let me ask this: if um, a child is created um, because of rape or incest, and I know that you've heard of these stories where some rapists, even if the mother keeps the child, some rapists want to be a part of that child's life. What do you think about that? Where they're suing, where they say, I have the right to be a part of this child's life. What do you think about that? Okay, Angie says absolutely not. And I agree, absolutely not.
I also agree. Absolutely not.
But you have heard those cases.
Yeah, absolutely not. Crazy as it seems, no.
And it's amazing to me that why would you want to be a part of this child's life? So you're a part of this child's life, whatever. Don't you think one day they're going to find out that I'm here because you raped my mommy? So do you think it's more of a sadistic thing on the side of the rapist, or do you think it's something that, oh man, I messed up, I really want to be a part of this child's life?
Well, in my opinion, if a person is trying to, if a rapist is trying to get in a involved in a child's life, it sounds like they may have a connection with the family. I know there are situations where kids have been um, forced relationships, people that know family members, and the child has been. Oh, that's a good thing too. One night stand, and you the person is kind of in your life. I could kind of almost see that a person getting drunk and like somebody in college or whatever, somebody in college getting drunk, and a young man takes advantage of a girl, and that advantage that young man took resulted in that girl having a child. When you look back and see something like that, maybe somebody was 18, 19 years old when this happened, they may have been drunk and it got out of hand, and then they come back a few years later and say, you know what, I was dumb, I was stupid, I shouldn't have never done that, I know I was wrong, but I produced a child and I want to be a part of that child's life. Something like that I could see a little bit different,
But
but
why would it be different? Because the bottom line is you still rape me.
yeah.
You still rape me, and one day this child is going to want to know who daddy is, and I'm going to have to tell my child and hurt them probably, psychologically, that their father is a rapist. I never loved him. That you were not produced out of love, you were produced out of violence.
Hmm.
So how, what is the difference?
Well, like I said, I can only attribute something like that to somebody that's young and innocent and just stupid, because I know that I've
So
gone out
you
with
wait, when you
people.
say young and innocent, you're talking about that the male is young and innocent.
Yes, yes, yes. Yep.
But you can't be that innocent if you rape somebody.
Right. I mean, I remember when I was in junior high, we would have basement parties. And I remember some kids in eighth grade, they would go off into the other room, with a boy, and God knows what they were doing. But I never forget, there was a girl that was in eighth grade that went to my school. And she was the first person that I had ever known that actually got pregnant in eighth grade.
Wow.
Yes. I was like, what?
Wow.
She actually got pregnant in the eighth grade. She got pregnant by a boy that was a sophomore.
So what happened?
She had the baby. She raised him. They were never a couple. They were never like, they were never a couple from what I understand. He was doing his own thing, going out with different girls in high school. Because like I said, he was
Okay,
senior,
so
he
okay,
grade
so
higher.
okay, okay. So let me ask this. Okay, so he's a sophomore.
Hmm.
He gets an eighth grader pregnant, so they're both minors.
Hmm.
So I'm assuming he wasn't charged for rape or anything.
No, he wasn't.
Um, but at the same time, when you look at this, is he obligated? I mean, like you said, young and stupid. I'm not going to say innocent because neither one of them were innocent, but young and stupid. Is he responsible for taking care of that child?
I would say to a certain extent. I'm sure he didn't take care of that child. I'm pretty sure she did. He didn't. But what I understand, I believe she was receiving state aid, and I don't even know if I think she went to high school, but I don't remember if she ever graduated or not, or if she left high school. The baby was born in the eighth grade. And like I said, the father was in the 10th grade. I mean, it was a big deal back then. This
Well,
is
I
the
mean, I mean, to me, it would still be a big deal now,
yeah,
But
eighth grade. It was like, wow. Hmm.
so I'm assuming that if she's getting state aid and what have you, his family did his family ever acknowledge the child?
I don't think they had that kind of a relationship. I think it was one of those. I think it was one of those things where it was a party situation. They were fooling around, and she got pregnant. She got pregnant, and she raised that baby. And I don't recall him ever having a kid either in high school. I think he stuck around. He had other girls or whatever in high school, but I don't recall her having any other boyfriends. Like I said, I think she might have left freshman or sophomore year because I don't remember her. Like when I was doing high school, I don't remember that much. But I
Okay.
remember eighth grade.
I mean, and again, it's like when you look at all of these scenarios. I mean, it's like, of course, the person that gets hurt the most is the child.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when I look at this ridiculous, Texas law, um, whether or not you believe in abortion, the problem that I have is that if you force a woman to have a child that is a product of rape or incest, when that child is born, the mother could give this child up for adoption. Um, uh, the mother and the child, I'm pretty sure, are going to have some psychological issues, um, uh, um, especially the child when they find out who their father is and how they came to be. But then you talk about aid, and this is where the problem that I have with the Texas law. So you're making these women have these babies, but then when they need to go on some type of state aid or something, then you're going to start calling them, you know, um, uh, welfare queens, or you're lazy. Go and get a job. You want the system to support you. No, you made me have this child, and now I need help. That's the problem that I have. Thank you, Angie, for liking the show. That's the problem that I have. So I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that or not. But Angie, I would like to ask you, since you're in Scotland, what are the laws like in terms of sperm donation? Um, you know, um, is there a legal, like, do they have to sign contracts? Um, is there, you know, is it like the US, or what are the laws like in Scotland when it comes to sperm donors and adoption and things like that? And I also want to make a comment on something. I honestly have no idea. I'm Not something I read about, but our laws are usually different from you guys. Do you think that the United States laws are harsher than Scotland, just across the board on everything? Some not harsh enough. Hmm. Okay, so what laws would you want to be harsher? I'm assuming on the Scotland side. Oh, I'm going to open a can of worms. Okay, such as no American gun law. You know, I think our gun laws are the worst in the entire world, and we are the only country that has the problems with guns. It doesn't seem like any other country has a problem, but us, we have the right to bear arms, and sure, we'll go shoot up a school. I mean, we just had a school shooting the other day, and it's gotten to the point, at least with me, is I've just become used to it, that when I hear that there's a shooting, I'm like, oh, okay, there's another shooting. When before it was like, oh my God, they went into the school and they shot these kids, or they went into this business, and now I'm just, and I hate to say that, but we have so much. Every time you turn around, it's like every week people are getting shot up. Okay, we had a bad shooting in Dunblane, and our laws were changed. How long ago was that? Okay, hold on. Angie wants to come on. Hello, Angie. You are on. Thank you.
Hey, hiya. Um, that would have been about 1995. Maybe it would have been about 95, 96, something like that. I think it was 16 kids in a teacher shop. And they
Did
were
you say
just
660, 60?
16 kids.
Oh, 16.
Yeah, and they
Okay.
were just like primary kids. They were just like probably about 5, 6, something like that. It was really bad. It was horrific. So our laws were changed then, and they have been like that ever since. But with the
So,
same
what are
token,
your
we have
your
a the same token we have our police don't even have guns here. They have tasers, but I think they're trying to change that as well. To be honest, but
so it's for the
if
police
guns,
to carry guns?
so for the police to carry guns, it would be a special unit.
Okay.
Our Not every policeman on our streets has guns. And I know it's totally different for you there.
So what are your gun laws? Are Is the everyday citizen, like, if you, I mean, could I be able to go into a gun shop and buy a gun?
No, no, absolutely not. You would need some kind of license. And the guns that are thingy now are usually for like hunting, for like people that have gun dogs, things like that, and they go actually shooting, hunting. You wouldn't just be able to go in and buy a gun just for the hell of it type thing. It would need to be for a reason, and you would need some kind of license, and you would be vetted as well. You would probably be vetted and get a
So
background
if
check
I
done on
wanted
you.
to buy a gun and I said because I wanted it for protection, I would not be able to get a
No,
gun.
no, absolutely not.
And
Mm-mm.
see, this is where I think, that's one thing that Americans say. I want to have the right to,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in our Constitution. You have the right to bear arms, but the Constitution wasn't meant for what it is. It's like people are taking it out of context. I mean, I think it's ridiculous that you go to a rally or a protest and people are carrying guns. I think it's
Yeah.
ridiculous that our police are armed so much. You would think that they're fighting in Afghanistan. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's ridiculous. Now, I
So,
ask you this then. Let's say there is a situation where someone is getting out of control or whatever. So there's never, I mean, so you say they have tasers or whatever.
yeah.
Um, they never have to worry about someone pulling out a gun because the person would not be able to own a gun, right?
Oh, you can still get a gun. I mean, you can go underground and get a gun. You could probably get a gun quite easily if you really wanted to. From underworld, drug, whatever. I'm sure if you paid enough money, but you certainly couldn't go into a shop and just buy a gun. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anybody can probably get a gun if they really wanted to, if you pay the money for it.
So
But
what
you couldn't just go in a shop.
so what do people in Scotland think of America and all of these? I know, so do I. I also love your accent.
Thank you.
What do people in Scotland think of America every time you turn on the TV and it's
I
like we
think it's
just have another
crazy.
shooting?
I think it's crazy. And I'll tell you something else as well. I work in a school, and you know how you have drills for lockdown in the school if there was a gun and what to do, and
Yes.
yeah, I could not. I just can't visualize doing that with the kids in my school. I can't even begin to comprehend that when I work with them, and I work with these little kids and things like that, and I think having to make them do a drill in case there's a shooting in their school, and I thought that's just awful. That's not what should be happening with kids at all. Do you know, it's just not right.
But
I understand why they do it and why they're to be prepared for it, but as working with kids, I just couldn't comprehend doing that drill for that reason.
no, I mean no, and you're absolutely right because the way I see it, when I was growing up, we had fire drills.
Yeah,
There's a
that's right.
fire.
That's what we have. Yeah, that's
You
what we
have fire
have.
drills, but now it's like it's not fire drills are not the priority anymore. And I think it's a shame, and I think it's psychologically, it hurts a child psychologically
Yeah,
that you're in
it
first and
must
second
do.
grade that I'm doing an active shooter drill. I'm getting up under my desk. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get locked in the classroom. And
Mm-hmm.
some new schools now, in my town, my city is relatively new, and we have a lot of new schools and everything that have
Yeah.
been built, and the schools are literally being built with bulletproof classroom doors.
Oh my God.
And I think that's crazy. They're also being built where if you're in the hallway,
Uh-huh.
and if a shooter is in the hallway by themselves, that instead of the smoke detectors, I'm sorry, the sprinkler system
Mm-hmm.
with water, it now they built into it where it can produce some type of gas to confuse the shooter, where the police can go in and they can get them.
Oh my God.
This is
It's
what
just crazy.
it's crazy. It is. But yet you have these people who are like, I mean, why do you need to carry a gun to a rally? If you're
Yeah,
protesting, you have the right to protest. You can do whatever you want. But why do you need to carry a gun?
exactly. I just don't get it. I'll never get it. I don't understand it. And they'll argue
So,
black is white with you as well, to say that, like, this is why I should have it. I would never ever argue with an American about why you shouldn't have a gun because I would never win. I would never win.
well, you
And
know
that's
what?
what
I
quite,
mean, just from what you've just said, I mean, I think that you are winning. The only way you wouldn't win is if you're talking to some nut who feels that no
yeah.
matter what, you need a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And even for the police officers, you hear about a lot of these other countries like Scotland, who their police officers don't carry guns. I don't think
Yeah.
it's in intimidating. And you have a lot of these communities who, they don't want the cops there. Some people think that they do, but they don't.
Yeah.
But I think for Scotland, I think that's absolutely great.
Yeah.
So, and Angie, thank you so much for coming on and talking. I do love
You're
your accent.
welcome.
Every time you come on and talk,
Thank you.
I do love your accent, and I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you staying up late because I do believe, at least for California, I think you're like 8 hours ahead of me. I think
Yeah,
because
I'm at just after 10:15 here at night.
okay, it's a little bit. It's about 2:15 here in the afternoon. So
Yeah. Don't
okay.
get me wrong. I'm moving to Scotland. Don't scare them. Don't get me wrong. We've got our own issues in Scotland. We've got knife crime, which is quite bad here.
Okay.
Can be
Well,
just as
Juju
awful.
just said, "I'm moving to Scotland. Guns scare the hell out of me." So, well, does anybody else have anything that they want to say? Anybody? Anybody? I always love to give people the platform.
I want to say that I wish that the laws in America changed these gun laws. It's so ridiculous and out of hand. It's crazy. We've got to get the guns out of the hands of the wrong people. We
Hmm.
have to. We must. I don't know how
Especially when
we
it's
can.
schools all the time. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They seem to hit schools, and I can't comprehend that. I really can't.
Well, again, it's like, what do you do, because people can go in and they can apply for a gun, and yes, you have your background checks and everything, but how do you prove that someone's crazy, or someone
Yeah.
is going to take the gun that they purchase, and they're going to go and they're going to go off and kill somebody? I mean, how do you prove
Yeah,
that?
because
I
they don't
mean,
even do a check, do you? Do they? There, they don't even really. You can just go and get it.
so you're saying Scotland?
No, in America, you can do that. Can you?
Yes,
Could
yes,
you
you
just go
you
into a
can,
shop
if
and
if
get it?
you know the right people, in which a lot of people can. Just It's very easy to purchase an illegal gun. It is.
Wow.
It is. It is. Yeah, and it's crazy, because here in California, we had a governor, or we have a governor, who, um, when he was elected, he put a ban on all assault rifles. But you have people who said, that's violating our
Your
rights and everything. And
rights.
now,
Yeah.
you know, um, people in California are now able to buy assault rifles, and literally they sold out. Every gun shop in California, for the most part, sold out of assault rifles within 2 days, which
No
I think is
way.
disgusting. But
Wow.
yet, hey, they're trying to recall our governor. you know so
Wow.
I don't know. So the gun laws here, they are crazy. If you're a responsible person, I have no problem with you owning a gun. But if you're going to buy it because you want to go and kill someone, or if you want to buy it because you want to go to a rally and intimidate
Hmm.
someone, or I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. You
It
know,
doesn't.
um,
You're right.
but that's the way it is here. So, and once again, our topic changed from sperm
I
donation
know.
to guns. To guns, but that is
I
okay.
told you I was opening a can of worms.
That's okay. That's okay, Angie. You know me. My show, as long as people keep it civil,
Yeah.
you can talk about whatever you want. I don't care, because everybody always has something to say. And Shy Lady says, "How did that happen?" So, all right. Well, everyone, we are 20 minutes after the hour, and that's all I've got. And again, thank you so much for everyone who showed up. Thank you for the likes. And Terry, I don't know if you're still here or not, but thank you. And I am Solid Blue Sister. This is my turn to talk. Always speak your truth, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And Angie, enjoy your evening. Bye. Thank you, everyone. And Angie, I always enjoy you coming on. And don't forget, today is Thursday. I won't be back until Monday. So enjoy your weekend. And I appreciate you, Angie. Enjoy your evening. So, Terry, I don't know if you are on or off. Have a good weekend, everyone, and thank you for a great show. Bye.